Look at these satellite images. This isn't just conflict, this is the systematic deconstruction of a society. The Israel-Palestine conflict is often called complex, but that complexity is frequently used as a smokescreen to hide a simpler, harsher truth. This is a story that begins not with ancient hatreds, but with a fatal, incompatible promise made by a dying colonial empire, a promise that directly led to a century of war, occupation, and what the international legal system now fears is a potential genocide. Today, we're going beyond the media soundbites and political slogans. This is an uncompromising look at the historical origins, the calculated destruction, and the undeniable human cost of this continuous catastrophe. The core of the conflict seems simple: two peoples claiming the same land. But the engine that set this struggle in motion was colonial arrogance. In the late 19th century, Zionism emerged, a movement advocating for a Jewish homeland, born from the very real trauma of European anti-Semitism. The fate of the people already living in Palestine was sealed after World War I, when the British Empire took control. The key document was the 1917 Balfour Declaration. It promised a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, while in the same breath hypocritically guaranteeing the rights of the existing non-Jewish communities. Here's the crucial context. In 1918, the Jewish population of Palestine was less than 10%. This declaration essentially told the Arab majority that their political future was irrelevant. Even Winston Churchill admitted these promises were incompatible. The final colonial act was the UN Partition Plan of 1947, an attempt to divide what they couldn't control. The immediate brutal result was the 1948 Nakba, or catastrophe, where over 700,000 Palestinians were permanently displaced as the newly formed State of Israel expanded its territory by nearly 50% beyond the UN's designated borders. This wasn't just a war, it was an act of national expulsion. But the geopolitical shift that cemented the current tragedy was the 1967 Six-Day War. In a flash, Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. This was the point of no return. The military occupation that followed established what has been called an architecture of control: military rule, restrictions on movement, and, most crucially, the construction of settlements. Since 1967, Israel has built over 280 settlements and outposts in the West Bank. Today, more than 500,000 Israeli settlers live on Palestinian land. These settlements are universally deemed illegal under international law, specifically the Fourth Geneva Convention. This relentless seizure of land is why the Oslo Accords of the 1990s, which promised a two-state solution, ultimately failed. The process promised peace, but the reality on the ground was continued expansion. The situation took another dark turn in 2007. When Hamas took control of Gaza, Israel and Egypt responded with a devastating blockade, turning the territory into what human rights groups have called an open-air prison. Trapped under siege, Gaza became the recurring stage for massive Israeli military operations. From Cast Lead in 2008 to Protective Edge in 2014, the civilian infrastructure was strategically targeted. During the 2014 operation alone, over 2,200 Palestinians were killed, including 500 children. This grim pattern exploded after the horrific Hamas attack on October 7, 2023. Israel's response was a military campaign of historic and devastating proportions, resulting in the massive deconstruction of civilian life in Gaza. The statistics are catastrophic. While numbers from the Hamas-run health ministry must be taken with context, the UN and independent bodies have confirmed the mass casualty scale. We're talking tens of thousands killed. Satellite imagery confirms entire neighborhoods and towns have been leveled. The collapse of healthcare, water, and sanitation systems has led the UN to warn of a man-made famine. The scale of this destruction is so extreme that international medical organizations like Doctors Without Borders have stated it is consistent with genocide. This isn't collateral damage. This is the obliteration of a society's ability to function. The sheer scale of this crisis finally forced the international legal system to act, moving the conflict from a political problem to a legal one. In 2024, the International Court of Justice, the UN's highest court, ordered Israel to take measures to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. This legal challenge, brought by South Africa, was a profound blow to Israel's international standing. The legal pressure intensified when the International Criminal Court's prosecutor sought arrest warrants for top Israeli and Hamas leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. Furthermore, the UN General Assembly, with a massive majority of 142 countries, voted to endorse a two-state solution, showing near-universal global consensus. These actions confirm that Israel's policies have placed it in direct opposition to established international law. The Israel-Palestine conflict is no longer a localized dispute. It is a moral and legal crisis defined by the ongoing denial of a people's right to self-determination. The political reality driven by an Israeli government that openly demands its security control over the entire territory west of the Jordan River has intentionally destroyed the possibility of a viable Palestinian state. The destruction in Gaza, the relentless settlement expansion, and the open rejection of a two-state solution have pushed the region past the point of diplomatic repair. The world now faces an undeniable choice: uphold international law and the principles of human rights, or allow the forceful, unending expansion of one state at the expense of another. Until justice, dignity, and a verifiable right to self-determination are granted to the Palestinian people, this century-long scar on the face of humanity will not heal. Thank you for watching. For more uncompromising analysis, make sure to subscribe to the channel.